Hey guys, welcome to the video. Wanted to put together some really just free content, free training, free information, because we are hyper-focused on solar companies. We probably talk to 3 to 5 solar companies every single day. And we're noticing a common theme, a common trend with solar companies. And there's a lot of companies out there that are missing opportunities. You're struggling to capture profits in your territory. And you're losing business to guys that are doing a better job than you. And I want to talk about that because I think it's important for the future of your business to grasp this, to get a handle on it, to recognize it, to identify it. Because I think a lot of you guys are missing the boat on the right way to do business, the right way to make sales. Because if you do this right, the profits will come. And I want you to put yourself in the mind of your customer. I want you to put yourself, forget about your product for a second and I want you to think about the way that you buy things, right? When you think about making a big purchase for your family, you don't rush into that, right? It's a complex sale. There's financial ramifications to installing solar on a house. No one rolls out of bed and says, oh yeah, honey, let's go put those big ugly panels on our house because the neighbor has them, right? People want to make informed buying decisions. People want to educate themselves before they purchase. And you should be building a relationship with those people before you sell. You should be helping to educate them. And so this isn't one of those videos where there's some offer at the end. There's no sales pitch here, guys. This is all training. So if you're hoping for a sales pitch, jump back over to my YouTube channel and dig around. You'll eventually find one. Most of my videos are training and content and education. And this one's no different. So if you're looking for a pitch, I apologize. This is not a pitch. This is not a sales. This is not a sales process. And you'll see I'm actually nurturing in this video the same way I'm asking you to nurture your clients. You want to make an informed buying decision just like your client does. And so to address this problem, you're going to need to apply the Stockdale paradox to your life. I'm going to challenge you to confront the second part here. You need to confront brutal facts of your current reality. You need to confront the fact that you might be doing it wrong. You need to confront the fact that your customer doesn't want you knocking on their door. You're interrupting their day. They do not want you there. And you're basically setting up the sale for somebody else because they do want solar. A lot of people do, that you're knocking on their door. They just don't want you on their door. They don't want you cold calling them. They want to make an informed buying decision. They want to educate themselves before they spend $30,000 on a solar system. So you've got to put yourself in that mindset. You've got to realize that the same way you buy things, online or offline, is the same way your client is going to make a purchase from you. And so you're going to need to confront your brutal reality at some point, because the marketplace is changing. And built within this training is how to be more profitable, because that's really what it's all about. You need to do things better. You need to improve your strategy if you want to be more profitable. It's difficult to be on the doors, create follow-ups. Meanwhile, that person can't wait to get you off their door so they can go back online and do their own research at their own pace and build a relationship with somebody else and probably buy solar with somebody else. That's the true strategy here. Is you probably have good value. You probably know a lot about what you do. You probably have good materials. You probably have good installation processes. You probably have a good program and a quick service and take care of your clients. But if you're interrupting them, if you're not nurturing them the right way, it's harming your business. It's harming your sales numbers. I see a lot of you guys essentially barfing up your sales pitch too soon in the lead gen process. You can't wait to get quotes out. You can't wait to barf up your value proposition on people before they've even educated themselves on the problem that they have. So you've probably forgotten more about solar than your client will ever know because you live it every day. Your prospects are living in a totally different world. And they don't need to know everything that you know. They just need to know that you're reliable and that you can be trusted to get the job done. It's a whole different world that we're living in. I'm not saying you can't make sales on the doors. You certainly can, but how much energy, what is the return on investment energy? How many doors do you have to knock or re-knock or recall to get that sit and then eventually get that appointment? You're losing those profits because there's no real relationship with your prospect. If you're just barfing up your, come get a quote. Oh, I can't wait to get you a quote. Yeah, a quote will help you. I've heard of people that had 5 quotes and still didn't understand what it was, because not one of those companies sat down and took the time to really educate and nurture and build a relationship with that client, potential client. You're losing those profits because you're essentially, if you barf up your sales pitch on someone and oh, hey, come over here and get a quote, all you're doing is inviting someone to shop you. Hey, come over here and look at my numbers. No one cares about your numbers, man. They care about how you can help them. Are you reliable? Can you be trusted to get the job done? Do you have relevant trust to go on my roof, connect wires in my home? Why would you invite someone to shop you? Well, how is that a winning strategy? Let's talk about lead nurture. This is the solution to this problem that you're currently facing. This works. I promise you, if you install lead nurture into your process, you will win more business. Because what lead nurture does is it nurtures trust with your prospects. And we'll talk about what trust means. You don't have to trust that you're like the same religion as them or drive the same car as them. Like, there's different levels of trust. We're talking about relevant trust. So for example, if you went in to get heart surgery, you wouldn't need to know what church that guy went to or what football team he followed. You would need to know that he was competent to complete the surgery and keep you alive, right? So that's what we're talking about when we say trust. It has to be relevant to the job and the task and the problem that the prospect has. You have to build a relationship before you sell. And it's something that you need to create a strategy around. You need to focus on building relationships, helping people, being an educator, showing people all the ins and outs of the system. If they do ask for you for a quote, walk them through it. Educate them on the entire process. Their eyes will gravitate towards the bottom of the page. Everyone does it. You do it. But slow the deal down. Build a real relationship before you sell. Trust is at the heart of every relationship. You must build trust. We just talked about this. Build relevant trust. Relevant to the prospect, not you. That means being focused on the problem, problem-centric. Focus on why that person even has a problem to begin with. Help educate them on their electric company. Show them why renting power is expensive in the long run. Show them the long-term ramifications, not just the short-term. Teach them all aspects of what a system means, the pros and cons to every type of financing option, not just one or two, all. Show them all options available to them. A confused mind can never buy anything, so you have to unconfuse them. Focusing on the problem helps solve that. And every relationship starts with a conversation, right? If you walked into the bar and walked up to the first strange woman that you saw or first strange man that you saw and said, hey, let's get married, you would get, depending on how drunk that person was, you might eventually get a a positive response. But that's a quick way to get yourself in trouble. The same exact thing is if you're walking up to every prospect, barfing up your quote thing on them, forcing people to get a proposal. It's the same exact thing. But that's how you build a relationship. You just start a conversation. And you build that relationship through relevant conversations. And you can do this digitally through what you probably previously called an ad campaign. We call that a conversation starter, not an ad campaign. You can start a conversation with an image or a video or a headline or a logo or a value proposition or content. When someone engages your content, that's a dialogue. They're having a mental conversation with your ad. You're having a mental conversation with me right now. We're having a dialogue right now. I can't hear you, but there's a dialogue happening. And you just start building those relationships digitally through your content, through your campaigns, through the conversations you start digitally. And those conversations occur in steps. And the fun part of all this is you get to engineer this entire conversation. Or if you've never done this before, you can reverse engineer it and go all the way back from the sale and reverse engineer back to the beginning of the conversation. That's why I asked you earlier to put yourself in the shoes of your prospect, or think about how you buy things online or offline. Think about how your family researches complex purchases. These conversations are going to follow a chronological thought sequence. When we say marketing, we say conversation. The goal of a conversation is not to make a claim, but to foster or instill a conclusion. Now, why is that important? Because if the prospect concludes it, they will defend it. It's a fact in their head. If a prospect adapts your content and defends it, it's very powerful. Those conclusions that they are drawn to, those conclusions are a vision of how the prospect sees and understands their problem. And that vision drives decision. And that thought sequence is the precise sequence of conclusions your prospects must determine before they are ready to purchase. There's not just one, there's multiple conclusions that your prospect must come to before they're ready. And that's all part of lead nurture. And you can reverse engineer this whole thing. And you must lead your prospect through those conclusions in the proper order, in the necessary order. And you control that thought sequence chronology by essentially controlling the geography of your funnel. In other words, introducing content at the right stage of the conversation. Remember what we said earlier about barfing up your quote too early. You're introducing numbers before numbers are appropriate. You're putting the ring on the finger before she's ready. Okay? That's all built within Lead nurture. Again, you start a conversation. You start the thought sequence by starting a conversation. You guide them. You meet them where they are. And then you simply lead them in a conversation where they want to go. These conversations occur in steps. Conversations. Remember, not ad campaigns. Conversations create clients. Conversations put panels on the roof. Think about it. In our world, in my world, a conversation is the marketing leading all the way through the sales process into the close. It's one conversation occurring in steps. It's about relationships. It's a dialogue. We just talked about this, right? A conversation, your digital assets, funnels, your landing pages, your videos, your headlines, all of that content. You're creating a mental conversation. Remember, I just told you, we're having a mental conversation right now. Even though I can't hear you. If we jump on a call, we'll have, more of a one-to-one dialogue. If you decide to jump on a call with us. But you're still having a conversation with me right now. And that's what you need to be doing with your clients. Marketing is about relationships. As the prospect goes through your nurture process, goes through your content, at each step of that conversation, your prospect's going to make micro decisions or micro yeses. Do they still believe? Are you fostering trust in that relationship? Do they still believe that you're trustworthy and capable to help get them where they want to go? So your job is to continue to build value throughout that conversation. You're guiding that conversation towards a value exchange. You could also call a value exchange a call to action or mini calls to action throughout the process, which are simply just specific things that you're asking the prospects to do as they go through your content. Every time you follow through on one of these value exchanges, the customer or prospect trusts you a little bit more, because when you deliver on the headline or the promise or the video, you're honoring the unspoken agreement. That's why you're struggling with your sales and profits. You're suffering the consequences because you're not keeping your end of the commitment. They don't trust you. You're not nurturing. You must give selflessly, because your prospect is going to give you time. They're going to give you attention. They're going to give you consideration. Then, if you have done this properly, then they will trust and eventually give you access. Because remember, your prospect wants to make an informed buying decision. They give that attention and that time so they can learn about their problem. They want to understand the impact of all this. They want to understand the root cause and the options available to them for that solution. You have to give selflessly, regardless of what you want. This is why commission breath is so harmful. Sales breath is harmful. You have to do this assuming that your prospect will never buy, assuming that they will never do business with you. Exchanges, value exchanges, building value throughout the entire process, delivering on what your content claims or what your content promises. Because every time the prospect goes through the next piece of content or the next video or the next headline, the next whatever artwork or meme or article that they're going through, they're going to ask themselves, is it worth the risk, worth the effort and risk to do what you're asking me to do? Am I going to gain something of value from giving you my time? And as you follow through on these value exchanges, you will build trust. Follow through on a sequence of value exchanges, and as you increase the value in the sequence, you build more and more. And that's where it gets really exciting, because you can start with a very small ask and build up to the big ask at the end, right? Most of you are just going in for the big ask right up front without building a relationship. That's why lead nurture is so important. Because the prospect's going to weigh, again, they're going to weigh the risk of each step and continue to decide if they should keep going. When the prior step's reward is delivered by you, then the risk of the next step goes down, even if the risk is higher. That's why it's difficult to get in the door on that first knock. They don't trust you. You cannot get in the house. They're weighing the risk of that. That risk is way too high. They don't know if you're capable. They don't know if you're reliable. Your prospect must come to that conclusion on their own. They must know, is the company capable? In other words, can you do it? Is the company reliable? Will you do it? As you go through this process, again, the sales process is a transition from the marketing process. The marketing process is happening digitally before you even talk to the customer on the phone. So that conversation starts the minute they start their research for solar panels. You need to start the conversation there and guide them and nurture them through the lead nurture process, because you're setting up the sales process with the lead nurture process. Because what you want is qualified sales leads. You want someone that fits your ideal customer profile, right? Can they afford to pay you? Do they have the right roof? What's their situation? You can guide them through that, through lead nurture. And then when they get to conversion nurture, that's when you determine for them to be sales ready. Now let's determine what sales ready means. Because I hear a lot of people when I say sales ready, that means that they think that someone is, basically ready to pull out their credit card or pull out their pen and sign. That's not what sales ready means. Sales ready just means that they are ready for the sales process. That means they're ready for the next level of the conversation, which is conversion nurture. And we're going to cover conversion nurture in the next video. Take care, guys.